Bob Dutko, evangelical Christian talk show host and apologist, believes there is evidence in the Bible for its scientific accuracy that it couldn't have unless inspired by an all-knowing divine being, which proves the Bible can be trusted to be true. In this episode, Bob thinks there is evidence in the Bible to support the scientific theory of an expanding universe.
The universe is expanding. This is something, obviously, that scientists, even evolutionary scientists, will acknowledge. The universe itself is expanding. But how could anyone have known this at the time Scripture was written? Job 9:8 says, "Who alone stretches out the heavens and tramples down the waves of the sea?" Psalm 104:2 says, "Covering thyself with the light as a cloak, stretching out the heaven like a tent curtain." We also read about the heavens themselves being stretched out in Isaiah 40:22, Isaiah 42:5, Isaiah 44:24, Isaiah 45:12 and 48:13, 51:13, Jeremiah 10:12, Jeremiah 51:15, Zechariah 12:1, consistently about the stretching out of the heavens.
While the series on the book of Job explains the expanding universe concept attributed to Job 9:8, we shouldn't let the remaining verses Dutko cites go unanswered. The verse from Job states that Yahweh stretched out the heavens, and apologists like Dutko believe this can be used as ancient code for an expanding universe. In each of the other verses Dutko cites to support this initial claim from Job, the same Hebrew word for heavens, shamayim, is used. It's as if Dutko did a concordance search on the phrase "stretched out the heavens" and threw whatever he found together as his proof that the Bible speaks of an expanding universe without understanding the ancient cosmology out of which these verses came. In some of these verses, heaven, or shamayim, is described not just as being stretched out, but stretched out like a tent or like a curtain. As noted in the Job series in reply to apologist Hugh Ross, who tried to use this same verse in a similar apologetic.
The book of Job is the first book in the Bible that talks about God continuously expanding the universe from the very beginning of creation, where he creates space, time, matter, and energy, to where the universe is now sufficiently expanded that stars, galaxies, and planets like Earth can be formed. Notice, too, that no scientist even hinted at the idea that we live in a continuously expanding universe until the 20th century. Albert Einstein was the first to suggest that we live in a continuously expanding universe. But for thousands of years, the Bible was on record, and it was uniquely on record. It was literally the only book of theology, of science, or philosophy that stated that we live in a continuously expanding universe. Today, we know Job got it right. Job uniquely predicted future scientific discoveries.
However, as John Pilch notes in his Cultural Handbook to the Bible, a concordance search of the Revised Standard Version of the Bible discloses that the word sky appears 12 times, but the word heaven, heavens, occurs 750 times. Both English words translate the same Hebrew and Greek words. The English word heaven carries so many centuries of theological freight that a reader does well to avoid it and use sky unless completely implausible in context. So when reading Job 9:8, one must keep in mind that the biblical author was writing within the framework of an ancient Hebrew cosmology. As Pilch further explains this biblical view of the universe, the earth is a flat saucer resting on pillars covered by a dome on the other side of which are waters. There is water in an underworld beneath the saucer too. The ancients agreed that this universe was a closed system, enclosed by a vault or firmament. The high god or gods lived on the other side, and there was an opening that allowed access to the other side. That opening, of course, was located over the place where the deity's temple on earth was located. In the Israelite tradition, this was Jerusalem. Jesus had to ascend to heaven from Jerusalem, since the hole was there and not in Galilee. John the seer on Patmos and Ezekiel the prophet in Mesopotamia could travel through that opening by means of experiences in altered states of consciousness. So the heavens being stretched by God in Job 9:8 is actually the solid canopy of the sky overhead, a description of the Hebrew word for the dome, rakia, or, as in the King James Version, firmament. Rakia is the noun form of the root word raka, meaning to beat, stamp, beat out, spread out, or stretch. The idea here was of a solid dome covering the earth, beaten out and stretched by God as ancient artisans would beat out gold, silver, or other precious metals to stretch over idols or other objects. This solid canopy, the rakia or firmament, is given a much more in-depth look in the video What the Bible Got Wrong, the Firmament. Suffice it to say, none of these verses can be stretched to be in reference, scientifically speaking, to an expanding universe. They fit well in their own ancient, if not also scientifically ignorant, cosmological context. Funding for this program was provided in part by the generous contributions of viewers like you via Patreon. Consider joining them at www.patreon.com/Bible Skeptic. Thank you.